Battlefront 2 is truly having a comeback moment right now, with player numbers climbing every single day and the Steam numbers almost being up at the all-time highs. Why is this? What does it mean? And does it give us any actual hope for a Battlefront 3? Well, that's something I thought it was time to talk about, because the hype around Battlefront is definitely back. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's been a while since I spoke about Battlefront here on the channel, and I have to say I had a lot of fun today jumping on and playing some Battlefront with all the new players who have joined recently, as well as checking out Kyber, which I will get to later in the video. So what is this comeback? What is this increase in player count? Well, over the last couple of weeks, across all platforms, Battlefront 2 has been growing and growing, and right now the only actual number we can look at is Steam charts, because that's the only public number we have regarding Battlefront 2, which is now closing in on the 10,000 all-time player peak. And keep in mind that this is only through Steam, and Battlefront on Steam was actually released after the official support ended. So for all of us who played before they ended the support from the launch, we mostly played through the EA app, meaning that this is just a fraction of the real numbers. And I think it's a combination of reasons that made this big spike. Every year around May 4th, there's always a little bit of a spike in all Star Wars games, but this year it was something special, especially in Battlefront 2. I think the reason for this is May 4th, Andor Season 2 coming out being fantastic, and also Star Wars hitting in Fortnite. And I think that just made people really want to scratch that itch of a multiplayer Star Wars game. And I mean, some people have jokingly said that Star Wars in Fortnite is Battlefront 3, and well, it's not really. The only thing that's similar is that it's multiplayer and it's Star Wars, but it's still just a fraction of what a Battlefront game is. But I'm not saying it's bad, it just isn't Battlefront. And I think all of these reasons just made so many people crawl back to Battlefront 2, and I also gotta say, when I played today, a lot of new players have joined as well, so it's not just returning players, but it is new players jumping onto the game too. And it really has aged so well. I hopped on and instantly found full servers in both Galactic Assault and Supremacy. And I still think that PC is the smallest platform, meaning that it's probably easier on PlayStation and Xbox. And that's another thing worth mentioning, Battlefront 2 is still on the top downloaded weekly list on the PlayStation every now and then, meaning that it's actually one of the most top downloaded games right now, which I think is crazy considering that we have not had any official updates to this game for 5 years. Yet the game is still thriving and people are loving it. And I know I've repeated myself over the years, we all want the Battlefront 3, why won't they continue Battlefront 2? And honestly, I think it's worth continuing to say that, both by actually spreading it across social media, but most importantly by playing the game. That's the real hard numbers that EA and Disney can see, the amount of people still playing an outdated game because there's nothing else to scratch that itch. The only multiplayer Star Wars game they had in the works was Star Wars Hunters, which was cancelled, and that wasn't a Battlefront game either. It was a mobile arena shooter that, while I thought it was okay, was not really the same thing as Battlefront. But even though there's no official work being done on Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 3 as far as we know, there is some big stuff happening with Battlefront 2, which is Kyber. And I actually checked out Kyber V2 today for the first time in a very, very long time, and it has come so far. It truly is like a real Battlefront 2.5 right now. There's no more hassling with the files, complicated stuff. I just downloaded the client, installed it, and then I could see all the servers that were available, and in order to play them, I would simply click play, it would download all the mods needed, and I was able to join. Easy as that. And suddenly you got tons of more heroes, characters, blasters, and all that kind of stuff to really make it feel like you've had 3 years worth of extra content added to the game. Unfortunately, it is of course only possible on PC, and it's still in a closed beta. But crazy enough, over 6,000 people are paying on Patreon to support Kyber, which I think is fantastic. It really shows how much people want a real Battlefront 3. If thousands of people on one platform are paying to play a beta for an updated version of Battlefront 2, it means that there is a massive demand for a game like this. I gotta give a big shout out to the Kyber team for really taking this to the next level to make it feel like this was actually a premium experience with a real software, not just you having to do all complicated stuff with the files, which I think was a big problem with Kyber V1, that it wasn't accessible for people who just wanted to easily play with mods online with other players. But I'm not gonna stay too long on Kyber, simply because I know it's not available for PlayStation and Xbox players. So back to Battlefront 3. What are the odds of us actually getting a Battlefront 3 or a continued support for Battlefront 2? I think the whole argument about continued support for Battlefront 2 is something that we honestly have to let go. As much as I agree that that would be the easiest thing to do, DICE are fully focused on Battlefield, and the game is outdated and would have to be completely redone to have the architecture that was needed to run a game in 2025. I remember the developers out on Reddit saying that they were already pushing the size limit possible at the end of the Battlefront 2 cycle, meaning that if they were to actually make it a long-term game, they would have had to redo a lot of stuff. But a new Battlefront game, that's where the hope is at. I hope that Disney, Lucasfilm and EA, seeing these kind of numbers, will really make them understand how much people want a Star Wars multiplayer game. And yes, it is a huge task if someone were to take upon themselves to do Battlefront 3, because people would expect the same amount of content as Battlefront 2 had when they stopped support, which was after multiple years of development and multiple years of post-launch content. So doing a game as big as that in the current gaming climate where a lot of companies are having to fire people and a lot of companies are going bankrupt is very risky to do. I personally feel like as much as that is a risk, it's also a huge brand. People will buy Battlefront. Just look at Battlefront 2. It had the absolute worst launch of any game that I have ever seen, but still, thanks to being a decent game at its core, having good post-launch, a good franchise, and having a massive player base that was interested in that kind of game, it still did really well. And with so many different Battlefront games having been released over the years and so much data to look at, it wouldn't be that hard to nail down what exactly people would want to make sure that you hit at least 90% right with your game, and then you can adjust it post-launch to make sure that you keep the players happy. And with Star Wars doing really well, to be honest, with Andor Season 2 being phenomenal, The Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out, and things like that, there's such a big empty hole after an active Star Wars game where you can add new characters and expansion based on series and movie content. All in all I can say is keep playing the game, keep making noise about it. There's really no harm to be done. Sure, it might get tedious to see people post, please get us a Battlefront 3 all the time for 5 years. But well, make noise, show good numbers, that's really the only thing that the gaming companies care about. Anyways, it was great to be back on the Battlefront today, both playing the game and chatting with you all. Hopefully there will be more stuff to talk about in the near future, and maybe we could even get some official statements at some point. Who knows? Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.